What's up, everybody? Welcome to the third episode of Studio Spotlight, the podcast based out of Evergreen, Alabama, that gives, local businesses, bands, artists, musicians, whatever else, a chance to kind of, tell their story, give a little insight into what's going on in our local scene. And today, I've got two very special guests.
Oh, buddy.
I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I got my OG here with me, Boyd Blackmon, and my new OG, Brandon Jordan.
We're all OGs at this point. We've known each other for, 5 years? Something like that.
I feel like I've known you for a lot longer, though, Boyd.
We've known each other since we were like 15.
Me and Brandon go way back for sure, but it's we're still, it's just one of those things. But I love you like a brother, and both of y'all. Babe. Anyways, you are Brandon Jordan from Ruckertown Road. This is Boyd Blackmon of Greenville fame.
Of many projects across my many years.
And
the band slut.
I want to go ahead.
Thanks.
Off to a great start. I want to go ahead.
I'm not sure my grandmother will appreciate that description, but sure.
She knows it's true. I want to go ahead and give a quick shout out to Ashleigh Baker for her help with the logo. She's in charge of all the graphic design for this project, and I just wanted to shout her out.
Go Ashleigh.
Hell yeah. If you need any graphic design services, links will be in the descriptions of this podcast, anywhere you listen to it on. And with that out of the way, I want to pass it to Brandon real quick to kind of give a quick introduction to who you are, your backstory, what you got going on. Take it away, my dude.
So, Brandon Jordan here. I'm from around the Prattville, Alabama area. Started playing music about 4 years ago with both of you guys. And started off in the first band that I had called Ruckertown Road. And it's kind of cool 4 years later and 500 shows later, sitting here doing a podcast with y'all. Never would have thought this day would have happened. But
yeah, it's weird.
For sure.
Here we are.
But you've been playing music for longer than 4 years. It's just been like you've been gigging,
Live
I guess.
music,
yeah, like performing in front of people for that long.
I started when I was 12. Started teaching myself how to play guitar and stuff out of a book called Guitar for Dummies.
Appropriate.
See how that got me. See where that led to.
So that's why you suck.
That's exactly why.
That's cool, man. So you said you've, jokingly, I which it could be factual, I don't know. You said 500 shows later. I don't doubt that. Because I remember when you first hit the music scene, I think I played one of your first shows with you.
The first one.
Over in Prattville.
I played your second ever live show, didn't I? That was the night we met?
Maybe.
Or maybe it was like the third or fourth. You hadn't been at it long.
No, it was like I had 1 or 2 gigs under my belt at most at that point.
Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy. You hit the ground running. You were like, all right, I'm gigging.
Here we go.
Let's get it. It was just like dates on the books, just one after another. Dude. And you've been grinding at it for a while, so kudos to you for that.
It's been every weekend since the first one.
Yeah, once it starts, it's hard to stop.
# no days off.
No days off.
Except every weekday.
not for me. But
well, yeah. So that's another thing I wanted to transition into is so you have been around the Alabama music scene for pretty much most of your life.
Oh yeah, since I moved out of mom and dad's at like 19.
Right, and just been playing in multiple bands. Any projects that kind of came your way, you were the
I will say yes to anything.
The band slut.
I have been in punk bands and reggae bands and many country bands and lots of rock cover bands and anything that you can think of. I have attempted.
That most people will not attempt that. So that's pretty cool.
I will say yes to anything.
But yeah,
especially back then.
So you've been in the Alabama music scene doing the weekend warrior type thing, playing bar shows, doing festivals, the works. But you recently moved, well, not recently, 2 years ago?
I will be 2 years at the end of this month. I
2
moved
years.
to Nashville on July the 27th.
Yes, and it has since become your like
Full-time job. I've been
Full-time
full-time since February of 23.
That's crazy. And I know up there, like, it never stops.
I played
It never
47 gigs last month. If my
Jesus.
if my math is correct, I might be off by one or two, but I think I played 47 gigs that month. Most of them primarily downtown Nashville, but also lots of road stuff. And
Right. So you're playing, like, like on average, like almost 2 a day.
I take every Monday off, and other than that, it's 2 a days or 3 a days when I'm home.
That is insane to
wild.
me. Like, I can't fathom that.
I'm only a singer really I might sing 10, 12 songs a show nowadays, and then I do no more than 2 solos a week or
Right.
duos where I have to do a lot of the singing,
Right.
and that helps. If I was primarily a vocalist, I couldn't do that kind of busy
Yeah.
schedule, but I mean, nowadays I'm primarily a bassist.
And that's
which
even easier.
is probably nuts to you two, because you two both met me as a guitar player.
Yeah, I've only known you as a guitar player my whole life. Every project I've been involved with you in, you were the shredder. And
Well,
now
that's because Fletcher is the bassist around here. You don't need me on bass when you have Fletcher.
Man, I just hold it down. But no, it's crazy seeing you move up there where, the concentration of world-class guitar players is so much higher.
Truly amazing guitar players.
I mean, it's like, it's almost discouraging because it's just so many people play so well.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody wants to be the guitar player or the singer. Just like, every other music scene. It's the same way here. But, when you find a good solid drummer, a good solid bass player, anything like that, you want to hold on to them as tight as you can. And you can stay busy that way. And I kind of discovered that around here, playing in bands. Nobody could find a bass player that would learn the songs, show up on time, and bring good gear.
That's the biggest thing, dude. I think that it's a lot more like a real job than a lot of people want to realize. Like, you have to show up on time.
Yeah, it's not just playing.
You have to know your stuff. You can't just, there's a million talented people that you don't want to deal with.
Right. And it's just like the bare minimum requirements for those positions to be filled. And if you can do those, then you can take all those other people's jobs who are not as motivated or willing to do the bare minimum.
There is a bass player shortage in every town in the country.
Yeah.
Kids,
so
if you're listening to this, get a bass guitar.
be a bass player.
Be a bass player.
The world needs
You won't
more.
be short on gigs.
Don't be a bad bass player. Don't be like the people we're talking about. Be a good bass player.
Be a good bass player.
Like me and Boyd.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's crazy seeing how there's like a little bit of a disconnect between the two music scenes, in Nashville and basically everywhere else in the country. Because I don't think there's a music scene that's as active and just relentless as it is in Nashville, because it's every restaurant.
We have Broadway, which is why so many people move there. Like, the base pay for gigs in Nashville is not any higher than it is in Montgomery. In many cases, it is lower.
Yeah, way lower. We talked about that with Smith Distillery last time, because Brandon Hudson plays up there a good bit. And he's like, yeah, man, you don't make anything. You just you kind of count on tips most of the time.
It's the volume of tips. It's the volume of tourists that are down there to see music. It's a lot like the three of us have all done Florida together, because if you live in Alabama, you're going to make your money playing music in Florida during the summers. And we've all done that together and did that for a long time. It's a lot like that, but on steroids.
Yeah.
Florida's
its own thing.
16 hours a day, you have folks that are there to vacation, and they want to throw some money at you for their request if you got a good band.
Right.
And that's the thing that's different about Nashville, is you get that experience that we all had in Florida with the tourist and they want a tip.
For sure.
But you get that for several more months out of the year.
Right. Well,
which is why you can make a nice living there playing music that you might not be able to in a lot of other, even large markets, larger cities in the country.
Yeah, Florida's definitely its own thing. Me and Brandon were talking about that earlier before you got here, because we had my band Fence, we had just played down at the Hangout, which is not in Florida, but might as well be. And the AJ's
Alabama Gulf Coast is basically North Florida.
Yeah.
It's all the same place.
It counts. But yeah, the Hangout in Gulf Shores and AJ's in Destin, and man, like, yeah, the tips are great and everything, and you're getting the tourist, crowd. You have like this fantastic built-in crowd that the venues just naturally have, which is awesome. But like, it is torture playing those shows because it is so hot. Every venue's outside. It's humid. Base pays, kind of whatever. And if you go out to eat and, you have to kill time, you go out to eat, everywhere is so expensive.
All of your equipment's full of sand.
And salt.
That's the one thing. The one thing about playing in Florida that I don't miss is that every gig bag, every speaker, full of sand when you got home.
And AJ's specifically being like right on the bay, like, and they generally hire bands for, a 3-day run. So you leave your equipment set up. And yeah, unless you bring like your own tarp or something, which most people are not going to do, it's just sitting there kind of like exposed to the elements all weekend. And, salt water or like salt air kind of like wafts in. And yeah, it's just a bad time. It's a good time, but it's a bad time.
A lot of things rust.
Yeah.
Your strings don't last as long.
Dude, I just put new strings on my bass the day before we went down and did that run. And I had to replace my strings earlier this week. Like, they lasted 3 days and they were just dead. And that's on a bass.
I do monthly.
That's like a $40 set of strings.
Yeah.
That lasted for 2 shows.
I do monthly on my basses in Nashville, but when I was playing in Florida, it was a lot more frequent than that. They just, even if you got like some coated ones, they just rust up.
I started playing with stainless steel strings recently on my bass. And they'll generally last me about 3 months of like good solid tone. But after that, yeah. You're really quiet over there, Brandon.
Well, we're talking about bass playing.
And we're talking about Nashville.
I don't know anything about bass players. I never can freaking find one.
Well, shit, you don't got to know nothing.
I'm just like learning about what bass players do.
Speak really loud and confidently. Just say something. It don't matter.
He's got 7 bass players, none of which will consistently show up. Exactly. Which is why...
And 2 of them are in this room right now.
Which is why, kids, you should buy a bass, just like we talked about.
And you can play for Brandon.
Somebody's got to do it.
Be number 8 or number 9 on his list of bass players.
Freaking call Fletch and like to see if he can come play bass for me, and it ends up throwing me 3 other bass players that also still can't play.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, like I'm booked all the time, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to send you the number of 3 other bass players that are like the best that I know in the area.
Yeah.
And they're all booked up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just wild. Like, that's what I'm saying. Demand is so high for those positions. Nobody needs another lead guitar player.
Yeah, I thought about stop singing, stop doing everything, go buy me a bass, and go to work.
Hey, yeah.
Dude, singing bass players, though, even more.
That's
with
true.
The amount that you can sing lead on.
That's true.
I thought about trying to do that for
something to consider.
Playing bass.
You'd be like Geddy
for my
Lee.
own band. I'm like, well. But like playing the bass lines is not the same as strumming a guitar. It's not the same.
That's what
I have to simplify a lot of stuff on the ones that I sing.
The whole reason I became a bass player is for that exact reason. Because Boyd, way back in the day, back when we were at Troy, me and you were in a band called Orbiter.
We were with the Jackson Boys.
The Jackson Boys.
Them Jackson Boys. They're hard on stuff.
I want to get them on the podcast as well because they're just some cards.
I was hoping they would be here today.
David and Nate Jackson are all former members of like some bands that me and Boyd have been in. They played in Smith Distillery, the guys I had on last time. So we were in a band, kind of like an alt rock band way back in the day called Orbiter. And David is a bass player by nature, and he was going to try to step up and be the front man and the singer, and he couldn't sing and play some of the bass lines at the same time like you were just talking about.
It's rough.
It's tough. It's deceptively tough. And so he switched over. I was playing rhythm guitar at the time, like rhythm electric. And David was like, dude, let me hop on electric and I'm going to switch over to bass. And at the time I was like,
I actually forgot that was what the first 2 rehearsals were.
Yeah.
I forgot that was the original lineup.
It was out of necessity that I stepped down, quote unquote, to bass. That's what it felt like at the time. It felt like a demotion because I was like, man, nobody wants to.
It felt like being fired.
Because it's like if you're the bass player and singer / frontman, it's like, that's cool. But if you're just the bass player, it's like, man, come on.
Life lessons learned.
Yeah. But like, I kind of fell into that role really nicely. Like I got a bass and a bass amp. I didn't cheap out on it. I got some nice equipment and kind of spent some time figuring out my tone and how I wanted to like mesh with the rest of the band members. Just really leaned into it. And once you do that in any position, but like for me it was the bass, like I really enjoyed it. And it just became, I'm the bass player. Yep. If a band hits me up, that's what they hit me up for.
And now around here, you are the bass player.
I wouldn't say
or one of the bass players.
I wouldn't say but I'll hang with anybody. You know, there are people, you know, in the scene that are way better than me. But I would say I'm a dependable bass player.
And solid too.
That is what I strive to be. I don't strive to do anything flashy. I don't want to take away like this show from anybody. I just want to show up, sound good, play my parts, support the rest of the band, take my check from Brandon, and go home.
You did a pretty good job on the last part.
Get on the bus.
Give me a little bit of gas money. I drove all the way over here from Evergreen.
Until you freaking run through my screen door.
Oh, dude, I forgot about that.
I got to hear this one.
There's not much to it. I just ran through a screen door. We got home from what show was it?
At? I can't even remember where we was at.
Was it at the Prattville, like the park?
No, I don't think
it was that daytime show or what?
I can't remember what the hell it was now.
I can't remember. Anyway, we got home and to his house and like.
No, that wasn't it. I thought about the one down in Enterprise, but no, I dropped you off because I went straight there, didn't I? I can't remember. I can't remember where it was at, but anyway.
I can't either.
I don't know why you met me in my house.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's one of the anomalies.
It was at the social.
That's what it was.
It was at the social at Lake Martin. Because I met you there because I thought you were...
the night of the reunion show?
Yes.
The last time I was
there.
Yeah. You played with us, Boyd, and I thought we were all going to meet at Brandon's house and take Brandon's bus to this place. So I was like, hell yeah, I'll meet you at your house and ride the bus with the boys. Like, that's going to be sick. You ended up not showing up.
Look,
no, don't give me your excuses, Boyd. No, don't even.
I never...
You let me down.
People of the internet.
All 16 people listening to
all
this.
16 people plus my mom that listen to this podcast. I woke up in Chicago 2 days ago, and I rode all the way home, and I got off the bus, and I got in my car, and I drove home. Because whenever I have a weekend off, I want to see all my people, like all my family and Brandon and Fletcher and everybody. And I was in Montgomery having lunch with some friends, and I didn't make bus call, so I drove myself.
I think he was just tired of being in a bus.
Weak.
I think I might have been just tired of being in a bus.
Yep.
Yeah, but you could have been in a bus with us, you know. It's a different vibe.
Whole different vibe.
The Ruckertown Road bus? Come on, dude.
The honky tonker.
The honky tonker.
Did you get that sticker on the side of it now?
I got my name on the side of
it,
but the honky tonker has been on. That was the name of it when I bought it.
Nice.
That's so you're keeping the tradition going.
Just keeping it going.
Sick. But yeah, anyways, so we got done at this gig and like he dropped me off, or we went back to his house because we all rode together, and I opened up his front door, and I didn't realize he had a secondary door that was all screen. There's no like divider in the middle that like separates a top and bottom panel of screen.
So like a golden retriever, you just tried to like step through it.
And there's a step up.
He didn't even step.
There's
a
hop.
He Mario jumped through that bitch.
He Mario jumped.
Dude, I did. There's a step. There's a step up. It's like 2 bricks height of a step going into their front door. So I just like, yahoo! Like jumped up through it and
smash
midway
right
through. I just tore the screen out of this dude's front door, and I was like,
Man.
"Oh my god, I'm so sorry."
We made it through the gig and then get home. This is what happens.
This is why bass players keep getting replaced, ladies and gentlemen. They ruin your property value.
Yeah, we're a bunch of mouth breathers,
bottom feeders,
bottom feeders.
Bunch of bottom feeders.
It's like every show, everywhere we go, something tragic or crazy happens.
Yeah, we're a bunch of knuckle draggers, bass players and drummers. We're just ooh.
Especially me and Fletcher, we play an instrument that's taller than we are.
That's true. We're both small.
Somebody brought that up while I was at the social.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
About me, like my bass being bigger than me.
And I almost forgot that both of y'all, there was like a reunion show and both of y'all was there. And then there was like, oh, who's that guy that played bass and the bass was bigger than him? It's like, oh, Fletcher.
Yeah. That's kind of my bit. You know, I'm sticking to it. Because I didn't get just a standard bass. I got like an extended scale, so it's literally almost as tall as me.
The low string is what, a 37-inch?
Yeah, 37.5, I believe.
Dang,
I'm not a super tall guy either, so it made me feel great whenever both of y'all was on stage with me. And Chris is way bigger than everybody, but he's sitting down on the drums,
right?
So nobody knows how big he is. And I got both of y'all next to me on stage. I look like a freaking
look like
giant.
Macho Man
look
Randy
huge.
Savage up there, dude.
Like, yeah, I look tall now. Thanks, guys.
Damn. But yeah, so like let's talk about Ruckertown Road. I want to hear just a little bit because I mean I've been through most of it with you, but I want to hear like the comings and goings of different band members, like what you've been through as this front man who's been trying to organize this thing. I like what's that been like? What's the what am I trying to say? Like the hardships.
Oh, man, I got plenty of them. Plenty of them. So it kind of, how it all started, I'll start from the beginning, so I was like a solo little musician guy that didn't really have any inspirations or like wasn't really trying to do anything. And then I just made this post on Facebook. And then the original OG drummer, Chris, messaged me. He's like, hey, man, you looking for a drummer? I was like, that sounds like fun. We can try that out.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how Boyd came along.
I
somehow
believe
on
I
Facebook.
saw the same post.
It might have been the same post, same
'cause
kind of
you,
thing.
You were in like a bunch of Facebook groups and stuff.
I'm in every Huntsville, Birmingham, Montgomery, Dothan, all of the musician groups across Alabama I'm a member of.
Yeah, that's kind of how that
And
happened.
I was always hunting for gigs because, like I said, I'd do anything.
Yeah, band slut.
Yeah. Found me and was like, yeah, I'll do that too.
And I saw Brandon's post, and we played. What was that club in Prattville that we played the first time as a duo?
It was Carl's Country.
Carl's Country.
Yeah, Carl, that's
on
that's
a
the first
Thursday
time
night.
That's the first time I played with you.
Yeah, because we came back. That was the first time I played a full band show was there. And we had a bass player, and then he decided, nah, I'm not going to do this. I don't want to be a part of this band.
Classic bass player.
Classic bass players.
Oh,
and then Boyd knew you, so he was like, hey, I know a guy that might can help us out.
Me and you were both in Fence at the time.
We were both in Fence at the time, and we had played together.
For
It's
like,
kind of both starting off.
three,
There,
4 years.
there
around
are
the same
probably some Nashville guys that have now beaten your numbers.
Damn.
But while I lived here, you and me played together like every weekend for like 6 years. And that's not a joke.
Yeah.
Like every project since like college,
Yeah.
you and I were a part
It
of
was
together. 'Cause
Orbiter, Ryan Waters Band.
if I needed a
Fence.
bass player, you were the first person I suggested. And if somebody you were working for needed a guitar player, I was the first person you suggested. And so we played together across many projects for years together.
For sure.
And they both dipped out on me and asked me to come back and be a part of this podcast.
All right. We both have valid excuses.
Every time I'm planning a trip home, I text you first.
You do.
That's
In a group chat with a couple other people. So
in a group chat with a
if
few
it-
other
I don't
fans.
even know if it counts
I
as
don't-
first. It's the same time as first as everybody.
I don't want to hear nothing because I'm your
It's just you and Alex. You make it sound like it's 10 people.
I don't want to hear nothing because I'm also your studio bass player.
Yeah, so I can't really argue with that. So you've made some bangers for me, so I can't really like make you mad.
So yeah, we both had our reasons. I went through a phase where, no lie, I was getting a little too much work.
Yeah.
And schedules were conflicting because it's not like in Nashville where you have like daytime shows and afternoon shows,
Everybody
nighttime
plays the
shows.
same time, the same
Everybody
days.
outside of Nashville plays, you're 9 to 1, 10 to 2, like these late night bar slots.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday night.
Exactly.
Maybe a lunch gig on Sunday.
So it's not like, oh, I can squeeze you in at lunch Thursday. It's
And
like,
hop over
no,
here.
it's like I'm playing Thursday night
And
Friday
every gig
night.
like from gig to gig here is like a couple 100 miles, where it's not a couple blocks.
Exactly. Yeah. Logistically, it's different. So here, if you're booked Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you're booked Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You have 3 gigs.
That's it. That's
Very rarely can you fit 2 gigs in a day. And so I was playing with Fence.
The barge gig.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. I was playing with Fence, I was playing with Smith Distillery, and I was playing with you. And I was just getting pulled in too many different directions, so I had to kind of downsize a little bit and commit to the band that I was like part of first.
Yeah, your project. Yeah.
And I was like, if I have the availability, I'll help you out whenever I can. But if I'm not, find somebody else. And Boyd, your reasoning was you wanted to move up.
Yeah, I was moving. I played my last gig in Alabama before I moved with you at the Social.
So that's what I was getting to.
I played at the Social with you on a Friday, and then I went down to Destin. I played on a Saturday. And I drove all the way back to Montgomery, and I loaded up a U-Haul trailer, and I moved to Nashville on a Sunday.
That's what I was getting to, was everything came naturally and easy. I had it very simple, everything, like all the guys, like you guys, having you guys around me, like knew other people. Like I didn't really have to work very hard to find good band members and good players. And then
it's a small circle.
Boyd decided to leave. And that's where it went downhill for me, but it wasn't that bad though.
I took you out to lunch at Baumhauer's like 3 months before I moved and broke the news.
He didn't break up with me over text. He did it face to face like a gentleman.
I bought you cheesy fries and the whole 9 yards.
It wasn't you, it's me kind of thing. Got to move on. I'm a peacock. You got to let me fly.
I'm a peacock. You got to let me fly.
It was a soft breakup. So what made you decide to make the move? Because I know at the time you were working with Alpha.
Backstory for those that don't know who I am. When I was in college and met Fletcher, or not met Fletcher, we met when we were younger.
Yeah, but we started playing
became
together.
Friends in college.
Started playing together, gigging.
I was going to school for computer science, and I had a job for about 5 years as a web developer for a local insurance company here in Alabama. Shout out to all my old coworkers, some of which will actually listen to this because we're still friends. But I was doing that by day, and I was doing music by night. And the dream has always been to do music full time, right? And I was really hustling because I'm a homebody. I didn't really want to move so far away from home as I did, and I was really hustling. And I was hosting that open mic night with Alex on Wednesdays, and then I'd go and play the late gig with him from 11 to 3, and then I'd go to work at 7. I was killing myself to try to make enough of a living in music in Montgomery to stay.
Yeah.
And after about a year and a half of that, it was just like, I'm never going to be able to do it. Mm-hmm. And so I knew Jake Bostic, who Fletcher knows.
Yeah,
Brandon might not know Jake.
I know of him.
We talked about him on the last podcast. He was the original bass player for Smith Distillery. He moved up to Nashville and became pretty much like a full-time steel guitar player.
Bass player. He plays steel as well. He's a great steel player, but plays mostly bass.
Gotcha.
And I knew only 2 people in Nashville, and that was Jake and his wife Lucy. And they were both doing the Broadway thing. And so I knew of the Broadway thing from talking to them. Right. And I was like, well, that seems like something that I could stick my foot in. Yeah. And my job had become remote over COVID. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I moved up there, and I still had a day job. And so I had that little bit of security blanket. I moved up there, I got a little apartment, and I started doing the Broadway thing. And then after about 7-8 months of living up there, I was comfortable enough in what I had built up to quit that day job, and then I've been full-time since then.
So what was it like for you starting out as somebody who just moved up there kind of as an outsider? Like, yeah, you had Jake who kind of helped you probably get your first gig. He probably like recommended you to somebody to start off, but like, what was it like having to network like that to get to the point where you could take it as a full-time job and quit your day job?
Well, I had the muscle built up in my brain of hustling in those Facebook groups, which is also how Nashville works.
Gotcha. But like to the nth degree.
Yeah.
It's like you got to be hungry for
the competition is higher.
Yeah.
And the level of competition is higher. But the muscle of waking up every day and checking Facebook to hunt for gigs is still a part of the early Nashville lifestyle.
Gotcha.
So there were Facebook groups, and I would respond to things, and I had a day job at the time, and so sometimes I would show up unprepared and not do a great job.
Right.
And then sometimes I would have enough lead time, having picked up a gig, that I would do a good job.
Right.
And then those people call you back. And it's the same thing as around here. It's just faster and more competition.
Yeah.
Like I've played gigs on 2 hours notice that I absolutely hit home runs.
Dude.
And then I've played gigs on 2 weeks notice that I didn't do a good job.
I talked about that last time with Smith Distillery. Brandon Hudson, the drummer.
Now, Brandon, if you're going to talk about sidemen around here, Brandon works just about as hard as anybody.
I guarantee every person listening to this podcast has probably seen Brandon somewhere. If you've listened to live music.
If you've been to a bar in Alabama in the last 10 years, you've heard Brandon Hudson playing the drums.
So I played a festival in Tallahassee a couple months ago, and I was with Jesse Wilson. And so I had this Tallahassee gig coming up, and at that time, still I'd been going through like all kind of band members once again since Boyd left. Thanks, just kidding, but no.
Feel bad about it.
That's what I was leading up to was like I've been shuffling band members here and there. A lot of buddies I got like y'all are like in different projects and have your own stuff going on already. So people have been stepping in and helping me out fill these dates out in the past year or so. And Brandon Hudson was one of those people I hit up. I was like, hey, man, because he hit me up a while back. And he was like, hey, if you ever need a drummer or anything, just let me know. Because my drummer quit earlier part of this year. And I made a post. I was like, hey, any drummers out there looking to join a job? And he's one of them that hit me up. So I hit him back up, and I was like, hey, man, I got this show coming up this weekend. I was wondering if you might be available to come play it. He's like, no, I'm already booked. Lo and behold, he's playing for Jesse Wilson. I'm like, if I don't know you've been here, we could play both and got paid from both of us.
Dang, yeah. Yeah, Brandon Hudson. Yeah, sorry, it's a little confusing having two Brandons. There's Brandon Jordan, who's on the podcast. Brandon Hudson.
Me.
That's you. Brandon Hudson is like, dude's a machine.
Dude.
When it comes to like the gig life, I mean, he plays with anybody and everybody that like knocks on his door.
And is an amazingly talented solo singer. I really enjoy his solo stuff just as much as I enjoy having him on
truly
drums.
don't know where the dude finds the time to be in as many projects and be like stretched so thin as he is, because like I could not do it, especially with drummers, because like that's a tough job having to like set up all your equipment and stuff every time. It's
a lot of gear to hoof in and out in this part of the country where it's constantly 100 degrees.
It's tough. It's tough. I straight up like pity drummers, man.
95.
I load in my cab and my amp head and my bass, and I'm done. I set up my cables. But no, they got to load in all this hardware, all the shells. They take some like 3 or 4 or 5 trips to get everything moved in.
There should be a front man and own all the PA and all the lights and everything.
Drummers need to start a union and demand more pay. But no, I can't remember what we were talking about before we got off talking. Like
just being a side man.
Yeah. Talking about Nashville, all that good stuff.
We was asking about the hardships and stuff that I've come across.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, that was some of it. I covered some already. Has been since Boyd left. Like I had to step up and become a better guitar player because I had all these dates already booked out for a long time, and that's kind of how it works out for me.
Because I was still with you whenever Boyd left, so I was kind of like, I remember you like really cracking down on like learning lead guitar.
And he became very good.
He became solid. I watched it happen in real time. Like he went from a rhythm guitar player to a like novice lead guitar player to like a pretty like
really solid lead
stable
guitar
like yeah. I mean,
I like your
stay in my little box.
I'm not going to inflate. I'm not going to inflate your ego or anything. I'm not going to tell you you're like just the best,
but like Hendrix, baby.
Yeah, but you can hold your own. You can do better than I can.
Thanks, bro.
For sure. As far as improvisation, like, yeah, you stepped up.
what taught me a lot of that was Boyd, because Boyd has still coached me a lot along the way.
I taught my way out of a job, basically.
It was like your severance.
He's like, I'm dipping out, but I'll give you some tools to try to make up for it.
To fill the void that I leave.
But I picked up Jake Spence, and he's an old guy, has been playing around a long time. He's super, super talented, but he's not up to snuff on he's not a country guy at all.
Right.
He's just
kind of a metalhead.
Metalhead. Well, more classic rock than metal or anything. But he's got all the licks and the chops and everything and the knowledge how to do it. He just doesn't know the material that well. So he was jumping in, trying to, like, teach an old dog new tricks pretty much at the same time as me, trying to hold it down at the same time to keep the shows flowing, to still do a good job. But what taught me that, what I was saying is Boyd gave me a piece of information. He said, look, man, just sing through your fingertips. Like, the vocal runs and stuff that you do naturally, just take that and apply that to the fretboard. I was like, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Once you learn the intervals between frets. But you get kind of a feel for it after a while, because the thing is with music, you're only ever a half a step off. If you hit a wrong note, it's another one. Move up or down.
Another Boydism, jazz notes, baby.
Yeah.
There are no mistakes, there's only jazz.
And if you ever hit a wrong note, just bump it up one or bump it down one, and you're going to be in that scale. And so, like that mentality of singing through your fingertips is like, it's pretty cool, because
half the time I don't even know what scale I'm in. Like, I'm familiar with scales, but I don't know them like the back of my hand. It's hard
to think about when you're in a live setting.
Yeah.
It's hard to be like, let me bust out the scale that I practiced for hours and hours. Like, you're trying to feel the music. You're not trying to do math.
Yeah.
And like think of patterns in your head. You're trying to like be expressive. And that's hard to do.
I think that's why you got to spend the time like in the shed, by yourself. Because like, if you want to do something ridiculous, you have to have it in your ears, in order to be able to do it live. Like, you can practice it over and over and over.
You can't go into a solo and not have a solo in your head.
Yeah. Exactly.
You can't just let your fingertips do the talking. You have to hear it in your head and then
translate it.
Yeah. It's like, this is what I want. Like, this is the intention I want to hit this part with. And, I'm just saying that to say that you stepped up during that period of the band where you were missing a guitar player.
He had 3 months of notice and a free order of cheesy fries.
I might have a little bit of abandonment issues now, because the new band I got now, I was like, after the first gig, I was like, guys, what do I got to do? what do I got to do to keep you? Like, I'll do anything. Please don't go nowhere.
Yeah, so what's up with the new group of guys you got now?
So these guys are freaking awesome, man. They
dude, I'm sorry, you just brought out the jug of water.
It's hot down here. It's hot everywhere.
Warm.
It's a little toasty in here.
Gotta stay hydrated.
Brandon has the 2 biggest bottles right now in the studio. Me and Boyd are sipping on some fine stuff, and Brandon bought it on a half-gallon of Jack
and a half-gallon of water.
And a half-gallon of water.
Life's about balance.
It's all about balance.
It's just so funny. Every time he takes a sip of one, I'm like, that's comically large. That's meant for more than one person.
Is it really? Nobody told me that. It's one bottle for one person, I thought.
It just makes sense.
It makes sense. It maths out. 1 for 1. Balance.
Damn.
But, the new group that I got now, we just kind of started making a merger in the past 2 weeks or so. Mm-hmm. And we just did a 4-day run this past week, and they slayed every freaking show. It's really cool to be around musicians again in the band that are forcing me to have to be better.
Right.
Because I don't have to hold stuff down. I don't have to carry, like, everything musically. Like, I start off something, they already know what we're doing, and they're just rolling into it. And then within 4 shows this week, like, it's kind of started making its own sound again. I'm like, man, this is freaking awesome. We like click really well.
Brian's a great bass player.
Well, and so it's funny
is.
You mentioned that it's like people that you don't have to carry the band anymore. You're not working with hobbyists.
Yeah.
You're working with people who have been the backing bands for other people who have gone to do on
And that's
like,
where I was getting to.
Yeah.
Was that as well? There's some true professionals that's got some really good experience with some notable musicians, notable artists.
Name drop them.
Name drop. So they played with Clay Barker. They played with Ella Langley. They played with Trey Lewis for a little while, and like they played with multiple other people that are just as talented that may not have had as much success. But
most of those artists ended up moving to Nashville, like Ella Langley,
that's what
Trey
happened.
Lewis. They were local people that ended up making the move, and their backing band. It's not like they left them for bigger and better things. It was more just they made the move.
Issues.
Well, yeah, they ended up
Again.
they ended up moving because out of necessity to like take on these Nashville shows.
Yeah.
And the bands kind of got left behind, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Like they did
So it
they
happened to
they
them,
weren't
like, three
they were-
different times.
Yeah, they weren't at a point in their life where they were ready to like make the move up there.
Yeah.
And so these truly like great musicians are still looking for a band to like fall into, and you kind of filled that space, and the timing was perfect.
Yeah, so they had their own group together for a little while called the Burn Downs. It was a 3-piece, and like really rocking group, really really good. And they had been thinking of the idea of like finding somebody else to be back in the band again for, and they've been throwing their name out there around Nashville again and stuff like that, trying to, like testing the waters a little bit because they got some abandonment issues too with people leaving to go to Nashville like I got.
Yeah.
This is going to be a theme.
I'm gonna keep stabbing.
This is going to be a
whole
theme
time.
of this podcast. I'm just going to keep getting stuck in the back every couple minutes.
Doesn't feel good, does it?
It doesn't feel good.
I'm the scornful ex.
The guilt is really hitting me.
But no, that was one thing they asked me too. They was like, "Hey, before we do this whole thing, are you planning on moving to Nashville?" I was like,
Did they really ask you that?
"Swear to God,
That's funny.
legit."
Because I said that. I called it before, like, as you were, like, thinking about, like, getting them to join you. I was like, they're probably going to, like, that's going to be a concern for them because they've had it happen to them so many times.
Yeah,
That's
We've-
funny.
As a group now, we've collectively been left for Nashville, so we're like, we got a bad taste for
Well,
it.
that's a bonding experience that you all have together.
So Brandon, why don't you tell your Nashville story?
Oh my God. So I had this opportunity to go to record with some cool folks in Nashville that was supposed to make me super famous and make me some banging records.
Yeah.
I decided to not continue that path and come back home to Evergreen, where
Back home.
came back home to Daddy.
Yeah.
Where
I
the
welcomed
magic
you with
happens.
open arms. No, long story short, I know Brandon doesn't want to get into it a ton, but like we had recorded a few songs here at my studio, and I tried my best to make them sound as good as I possibly could in a genre that I'm at the time like I really wasn't familiar with. You were one of the first country artists that I really worked with.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, you were my jumping off point.
I wouldn't even call it country. I don't really know.
And
what
it was kind
is.
of a country rock, Jason Aldean type thing. It's called Party Down South. And yeah, we did that, and we did a few other songs. And then, he got approached by this person up in Nashville who made big promises, charged a lot more, and ended up delivering a product that was
subpar.
Subpar is an understatement. I listened to it and I was like, brother. I mean, it was tough. It was tough because it hurt me too. Because I was like, man, I don't know. I just felt bad. I felt bad.
I felt real bad.
And
especially my wallet. My wallet felt real bad. Really bad.
No, it's a learning experience though, because I'm
was.
not saying Nashville is a bad place. There are great engineers, there are great producers in Nashville, but because of its stature, there are also a lot of people that will take advantage of artists that have never been in that scene. It's not ignorant. Well, it is ignorance, but not in a negative way.
Yeah.
It's just not being in that environment.
Yeah.
And people will take advantage of that.
They do.
And, yeah.
I mean, easily. They do it so easily, too, because it's like, hey, you can be a Nashville recording artist, and then you can come up here for the low price of $2,500 per song.
Yeah. And that's insane. And they'll send you some crap that sounds like
discount.
it sounds like you recorded on your iPhone.
Yeah.
It's inexcusable. It is literal like evil. Like,
but that's not to say that's not everywhere in Nashville. That's just my experience with one.
But you are not the first person that I've dealt with that has run into that issue.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there. I mean, it's fairly rampant. Like, there are these people that I've like dealt with that have like hit me up for recording, but I didn't think they were quite ready because they had, they'd never played a gig, they'd never done any of this stuff. They had a few original songs. It was like, I think you need to come back to me in a year or two. In 6 months, somebody in Nashville approaches them, gives them a record deal.
Yeah.
How do you have a record deal if you've never played a gig?
Man, that makes me so mad.
I've worked with people like that. They take advantage of these people that have stars in their eyes and don't have any road gig performance experience, and screw them over and give them
or even local gig performance experience. Like, they've never gone and played at the local place.
Yeah, and it's infuriating. These record labels, quote unquote, they give them a contract.
They give them a publishing deal.
Yeah,
where the artist will pay them $500 a month, and then you can come record X amount of songs, but you can only do the songs that are in their catalog.
Yeah,
and then we're only going to produce this much. It's crazy. I got hit with that like 4 or 5 times. I'm like, what are y'all talking? Me pay you? No.
It is so predatory, and I've seen it happen several times, and I thought yours might have been a little bit different because you have been grinding it for so long. It didn't seem like yours was as like, they were hitting up some.
Somebody I met through friends of friends,
right?
And it wasn't like somebody off the street with, I mean, he's got some high accolades too, and I got to record with some really cool, notable musicians that was really freaking cool.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like the musicians. I don't think that was the fault of.
Yeah,
I don't think it was you. I don't think it was. I'm not going to name him, but there was somebody that played with a pretty famous band that tracked on some of your stuff. It was down to the engineers. It was down to whoever ran that studio. Yeah. That literally just scans out
overall mixing and mastering and everything that screwed it, because the musicians played really, really well. Like, they did all their parts, and they like sat down and like put their all into it and gave it. They didn't just like, okay, well, you paid me to do a job, I'm gonna do it as quick as I can and get out. Right. They actually put some time in it. Like, I got to go to their house and go to their personal studios and see all their cool stuff on the walls. And that was really dope. That was almost worth the money. Right. But almost worth the money. I mean, I posted pictures about it, but
you ended up coming back here with me, and I'm not gonna say I have all these accolades. I don't have all these like songwriting credits and gold records and stuff. But like, I'm gonna sit here and make it as good as I possibly can with the tools that I have available. Like, I'm gonna try to make you sound as good as I can. Because if I put out something that I'm not happy with, I know you're not gonna be happy with it. Right. And I don't have the leverage where it's like, in Nashville, you've got artists are a dime a dozen. It's just like they come through your door faster than you can think. Here, I have to work to get somebody to come into my studio, and when I do, I want to impress them with what I can do for them. Yeah. And so when you decided to come back to me, I was like, babe.
I was begging. I was
come on.
That was a hard phone call to make. I'm like, hey, you know how you said this might not be a great idea? You're right, babe. I'm coming back home.
Come on.
Take me back, please. I didn't mean it.
Please take me back. The grass is not greener.
Come home to daddy. It's okay.
She didn't do that thing that you do.
Oh, my God. We are, like, way into this thing. I didn't realize how quick it had, like, been going by.
But time for an ad break?
It might be time for a quick intermission.
Here's a word from our sponsors.
We don't have any sponsors. Anyways, we'll be back in just a second. Thank you guys for listening and tuning in. We love y'all. More to come. Hey, Boyd.
Hey, Fletcher.
What's the secret to immortality?
Casey's Supreme Pizza and warm water bottles in a van.
Can you explain a little bit more?
If you consume enough plastic and preservatives, you become younger. I think Gwyneth Paltrow said that.
Well, she runs Goop, so she must know what she's talking about.
She has a company.
She has a company.
A lifestyle company. That was the word I was looking for.
Lifestyle. Man, I know that's just a joke, but like, so I want to talk to you. So you haven't been only just doing the Nashville thing. Oh, sorry, everybody. We're back from intermission.
I feel like all the good shit was said when we was not.
Sorry, we're a few drinks deep. Anyways, we're back from intermission. I want to talk to you, Boyd, specifically about, so you have not just been doing the Nashville thing. You met up with some Nashville cats, and you've been hitting the road doing some like countrywide tours. I want to know, what are some things that you have learned that you gotta have, you can't live without, that keep you, going? Because I know even here with me and Brandon,
plenty.
Me and Brandon, doing the weekend stuff, like, man, doing a 2 or 3, like a 3-day run, like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, almost kills you. Well, because you do a lot of.
Funny enough, I mean, road life in the scene in Alabama and road life in the scene in Nashville are different.
Right.
But in a lot of ways, road life in Alabama is harder. Every member of the band is almost always driving themselves.
Oh, yeah.
To wherever you are. So I put way more miles on my personal vehicle back when I lived here. I'd get an oil change every month sometimes.
Right.
Just from that much. I lived in Montgomery, Alabama, for those that don't know me. I lived in Montgomery. Very often I would be in North Florida 3 nights a week.
Yeah.
And so I would get off work and I'd drive 3 hours and I'd drive 3 hours home after the gig. And then I'd go to work and then I'd get off work and then I'd drive 3 hours.
Dude, kill me.
And then I'd play for 4 hours and I'd drive 3 hours, and that's a lot of mileage on a car. So I think that in a lot of ways, the Alabama scene wore me out more than the Nashville scene, both because I had a 40-hour-a-week day job at the time, and almost always the responsibility of driving myself was on me.
So how did that change?
So I was awake a lot more.
Right. How did that change when you started going on tour? Because I know you've been playing up in like the Midwest. You've been playing out in like Vegas and all these places.
I think that I've knocked 15 new states off the list.
That's insane.
This year, perhaps.
That is
I would
crazy.
have to really think about it. But the first road band that I was in with a guy named Aaron Owens out of Arkansas. Shout out to Aaron and Brad, who was our bass player.
Why wasn't it me?
Because we had Brad already. I'm sorry. I would have called you if Brad ever acted up, but Brad was a consummate professional.
Hey, that's all you can ask for.
But anyway, so I started with them, and we would do a lot of Wyoming and North Dakota and South Dakota, a beautiful part of the country.
Mountains and stuff.
Mountains, just gorgeous. One funny story is we all grew up in Alabama. What's the most snow you think you've ever seen in your whole life, Fletch?
Dude, I was like 5 years old, and I think we got 2 inches of snow at my grandparents' house over towards, if anybody knows where Old Texas, Alabama is. I'm sure you don't.
Yep.
But yeah, it was like 2 inches, and I remember we rolled like a very small snowman, and it took like the whole yard.
Little miniature snowman.
It took like the entire yard's worth of snow to get that.
So yeah, we do not get snow here. Like I remember being in late elementary school or middle school, and school shutting down for me in Greenville for like a half an inch of snow. And out in Wyoming with Aaron's band, we got snowed in underneath 38 inches of snow.
God.
In the town of Lusk, Wyoming. Shout out to Lusk, Wyoming. It doesn't have very many people.
Yeah.
But you were all very...
because of the 38 inches of snow.
We were trying to get from Cheyenne to somewhere in North Dakota. Bismarck or Fargo or something.
Right.
We were trying to get north from Cheyenne. And a bad snowstorm hit us. And we were in Lusk for 5 days in a Super 8 with 38 inches of snow. So I had never seen snow or mountains even before in my country life.
That's over 3 feet high.
I know.
That's like
right?
blocking in buildings. Like you cannot function.
And this
That's
was
crazy.
this is a little itty bitty town. And if
Yeah.
anybody from Lusk gets to hear this for whatever reason, you were the most hospitable people in the world. The whole town banded together and took care of us, and they were great. It was best place to be snowed in the country.
Damn.
But yeah, stuff like that, I had never seen anything like that before. So
I can't even picture that in my head.
Number one, if you're going to do the road like that, a heated jacket. Every bartender in the state of North Dakota made fun of me for wearing a heated jacket. But I was freezing.
I ain't used to it, man.
I was frozen
I ain't from
all
around these
the
parts.
time. And heated jacket, so good warm weather clothes and good cold weather clothes.
Right.
Because you really don't know where you're going to end up.
Right. Do you pack for both when you hit the road, or do you generally like kind of pick one?
I usually have a good idea of where we're going and what the weather's going to be, because
Right.
Fletcher's known me my whole life. I'm a little bit anxious,
OCD.
and so a little bit OCD, and so I plan ahead, and I'll look up the weather report for wherever we're headed. But I keep a hoodie in my go bag
Right.
all the time just in case it's randomly cold.
Stay strapped or get clapped.
Stay strapped or get clapped. That's probably the moral of this whole what do you need to bring on the road segment.
When you hit the road, you got to be prepared for anything. And if you're not, I promise the world will test you.
Mm-hmm.
The universe will test you as to what you are prepared
Number
for.
2, good toolkit.
Yeah.
Whatever instrument you play, good toolkit for setting up that instrument. Because Fletcher and I were talking about before the tape started rolling, his beautiful new Evertune Strat over here. And I love a hardtail Stratocaster as a guitar player. Favorite guitar is a hardtail Strat.
Yeah.
But when I was out on those runs with Aaron, I had a hardtail Strat that had a really nice Babbitt's bridge on it, but just the altitude changes and the temperature changes would really mess it up. It would knock it out of intonation, all that stuff when we were on the road. I had to do a lot of setups between towns. And so that's something you ought to have.
And that's so crazy to think that, because unless your band has a guitar tech that travels with you,
you do it by yourself.
And that's so crazy. Because for those who don't know, any non-musicians listening to this, it's your guitar, which it sounds stupid when you say it this way, but your guitar is a piece of wood, and it reacts differently to different temperatures, different levels of humidity, all these things, and an Evertune bridge kind of counteracts that by constantly keeping your guitar at a certain level of tension. It counteracts these the warpings,
wild swings when you're going from state to state.
Yeah,
wild swings in the weather.
Right. Yeah, you go from the south where it's just humid and hot, and then you go up north and it's dry. Maybe not cooler, but the humidity itself determines a lot of it.
Oh, it is very, very dry, and the altitude.
Right.
Cheyenne's
Air
probably
pressure.
the highest that I've ever played. I think Cheyenne is 6,200 feet above sea level.
Crazy.
And it is so hard to sing there.
Really?
Oh, man.
I never thought about that.
And that Aaron's band was the first band that I was really singing very much in, because you guys, I didn't sing much in Ruckertown until the end.
Yeah, you finally broke that out on me.
And then Fletch I sang a little bit in Orbiter.
Yeah.
But not well.
Yeah. That was early. That was
very early.
That was ventriloquist puppet Boyd.
Yeah. Ventriloquist puppet Boyd.
Back when you had the short haircut.
We should find a picture of Boyd with the crew cut.
That's gonna be the thumbnail for this podcast.
People in Nashville don't believe it.
That's gonna be the thumbnail for the podcast. It's gonna be you holding that slice of pizza.
I've still got my Troy University ID, and that was real crew cut days, and people in Nashville don't believe it. They don't think it's me in the picture.
Dude, I'm about to meme on you.
You should, because that would be really funny.
But also,
you can go to Costco and you can get a large package of Cliff Bars. That is an important thing to have.
Okay, so that's more what I wanted to focus on originally, was like the tools and the clothing and all that stuff is really cool. But so one thing I was going to touch on was
you do not get to eat well.
Yeah, you don't. You don't get to
very
eat
much of the time.
You don't get to eat well, really, just playing around here. If you're doing a 3 or 4 day run, you eat cheap fast food, greasy food, gas station snacks, like all these things. You don't
if you're lucky, you're at one of those places that also serves food, but that's still not a healthy meal.
Right. But sometimes you can get a salad, but you have to force yourself to eat a salad. You also do a lot of drinking throughout the night. You may not get drunk or anything, but you drink a lot throughout the night over like a 4 or 5 hour time period to kind of keep yourself loosened up and being able to work the crowd and all these things. And that adds up. After you do that 3 nights in a row, it is pretty like devastating on your body.
To the environment, man. It's really hard to appease a room full of drunk people when you're the only one sober.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like a dependency or anything, but you really have to get yourself in that headspace so that you can interact with these also drunk people. Because if you're stone cold sober, you're going to be standing on stage like, and anyway, this next one is called so and so, like,
or if you're at the same level as crowd, you're like, fuck yeah, this is the next song.
So when you're touring and doing these, nationwide shows, you're hitting a different state every day. Like, what are some things that you do to keep yourself, I guess healthy, other than eat salad, drink water, that kind of stuff?
I mean, it really is just as simple as eat salad, drink water, try to do something physical every day. Like, you don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, because you're on the bus,
but in a car most of the time. I'll wake up, and I'm a tiny guy, so sometimes I can get away with doing it in the bunk. But I'll just do push-ups till failure, do sit-ups till failure. Just force yourself to do something,
a little bit. Yeah,
keep moving. Yeah,
because it's so easy to especially on those long car rides. It's so easy to just put your headphones in and watch YouTube or Netflix for
12 hours.
Yeah, anywhere from 2 to 3 to 10, 12 hours.
And if you got a day in the same place, like one of the nice things about Aaron's band that I don't have with my current road band is we would generally be in a place for at least 3 or 4 days at a time. It would be like a 3 or 4 night engagement at this club.
I got you.
Or that club. And we were driving long distances between the two. But you'd be in the same place for 2, 3, 4 days, and you could find a laundromat. You could do your laundry.
Right.
You could go on a walk every day, get some sunshine or whatever. But, when you're on the road and you're traveling and you walk in that truck stop late at night, my go-to, and these two know this because they spent time on the road with me, is Reese's. I love Reese's more than anything in this world. But when you walk in that truck stop, you might want to grab a jumbo-sized package of Reese's Cups or a big old Hershey bar or something and a soda, but that's not good for you. You should get those little fruit cups that the truck stops sell every now and then, or
like one of the wraps with like meat and vegetables, in it, or and a bottle of water.
Or you might want to eat 2 or 3 truck stop hot dogs, but your bandmates in the van will not appreciate that.
Oh yeah, well it sounds so easy. It sounds like such an easy decision to make, but when you're riding with all these dudes and you've all been probably drinking. It's at the end of a night. You're tired.
And it's
you're hungry.
2 or 3 a.m. and you're tired and you just want grease.
You've got the munchies. It's so easy to be like Waffle House, McDonald's, or
Taco
if those
Bell.
aren't Whataburger, and if those aren't open, it's like, what's the next best thing? Some garbage at a gas station.
Pizza.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've eaten my share of gas station food in my life, and I will continue to do so. But every now and then you got to moderate it.
Moderation.
With something
for sure
healthier, even if it's just like a protein bar. Like I like the little Kind bars.
Yeah.
You should try this out. So I keep you can go to Walmart and get these packs of tuna that's not in the can, that's in the bags. Like
the
ready to go.
Stuff.
Yep. Keep that stuff. Great values. Really good. They got the big family size bags for like $1.50, $2.
Yeah.
Get a bunch of those. Like protein, you can keep little.
Do you just eat it straight out of the bag?
Mayonnaise. Sometimes I'm an animal. I just don't.
I haven't done that in a long time.
I will go to the store, like a Walmart or a Target or whatever, and get just one of those bagged mixed salads and eat it like potato chips.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes.
This is going to sound really animalistic. I used to love sardines. Straight out of the can.
Oh, dude, I had a drummer.
Back in high school, I would eat sardines straight out of the can.
Makes a lot of sense.
I had a drummer on a road Road Run one time that would make a sandwich out of sardines and Tabasco.
God.
And white bread, and it was foul.
Dude, you open a can of sardines in the bus,
It
bro. You're
smelled
like everybody
terrible.
hates you.
It
Everybody
smelled
hates
awful.
you.
It was rough.
So like that's one thing. It's like I want to get that like protein intake. So like I want like beef jerky and stuff when we stop at the gas stations, but it's so expensive. It's hard. You have to really force yourself to like choose those healthy options when you have them, because otherwise, you know, at the gas stations and stuff, like they're kind of jacked up a little bit in price.
Yep. So it's good to keep a go bag. That's military experiences taught me that a lot.
Yeah.
Like a couple years ago.
Keep
when I
a
had
go
that-
bag.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about you being in the military. That whole
Yep, that's what I do.
aspect of your life. That's your day job.
Yeah, it's still the day job. Been in the Army for 10 years, and this is going on my 11th year.
Salute the troops.
I'm ready to get out and pick a guitar and sing to people for a living. I got one more year left on this contract, or a little over a year left. November 25 is my ETS date. That's the date I can get out.
Heck yeah.
Things are shaping up where it looks like I might be able to chase the dream like our brother Boyd here.
Yeah, I was about to say pull a Boyd, go full time.
Yeah.
Move to Nashville.
Go full time, dude.
Yeah. Shout out to my wife, Nicole, at home, sitting there waiting on me to get there. But she'll be graduating college to be a teacher this December, and then she'll potentially start working as a teacher next year. And it kind of lines up perfectly because when she starts working, I have a few months to get everything in order before I get out, and then I try to hit the road full
It'll
time.
kind of offset the costs a little bit. That's awesome.
A whole lot.
That's awesome. Well, best of luck to you in that endeavor. I wanted to go ahead and kind of talk a little bit about the new song that you just released, but I, mixed for you. Me and you kind of...
We did it together.
It's a collaborative thing. It was basically just me and you.
I just get to be a fan for this segment. I love this.
Yeah, you get to do what Brandon's been doing for 90% of this podcast.
I just said I was going to come crash the party. I didn't say I was going to say a whole lot. I just want to come hang out.
You've been doing great. But yeah, I wanted to talk about the new single that you just released called Red Dirt Rich. Dude, plug it a little bit. Like, what's up with it?
So that song is something really heavy and different for country music. And I'm a huge Hardy fan, and I grew up listening to Brantley Gilbert and Jason Aldean, and that's always been like my heart and my passion is like rock and country music, because I also listen to like all the great rock and roll bands that was way before my time growing up. But I grew up listening to them, like AC/DC and Metallica and stuff like that. So I'm a rocker at heart. I grew up in the country. I grew up in a country type of lifestyle, and I also grew up listening to country, living in those environments too. So like my mom would be playing like some hip hop over here, and my dad would be playing some freaking AC/DC, and my granddad's playing Hank Jr. So it's kind of
Just influences all over the place.
Influence from everywhere,
Yeah.
and that's kind of how like everything we got out so far that we put together is kind of got little aspects of everything, like some southern rock, some country lyrics. So yeah, I wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
I don't want to do what everybody else is doing, like that's on the mainstream radio and stuff.
Right.
I want to do something of my own. So it's kind of how Red Dirt Rich come about with those heavy chugs, and
it worked out for me. So like as a producer, I got my start being like a self-taught producer, learning how to make my own instrumental metal.
yeah.
More or less, it was just like my own songs that I'd written, and I didn't have a band for. So I was like, I'm going to learn how to like program these drums, like record all these guitars and everything. And so that's where I got my start. And I quickly learned that nobody wanted to make metal around here. Like there were no metal bands that were, wanting to hit me up to record. So I started doing a lot of country artists and everything. And it's funny how the country scene has kind of like warped into that like metal territory now. And so it just felt like the time was right. You had this riff that you brought to me, and I was like, I think we can do something with that. And I had fun with it. I tracked like a lot of the guitars and the bass and stuff on it.
I knew you was gonna be excited about this one.
Yeah, I heard it and I was like, oh yeah.
So the last couple of songs have been like
taking me
love
back to my
songs.
roots. Yeah. You had 2 or 3 like slow songs. I was like, come on, man,
Let's do something.
give me some good. Nah, they're all good. But
So I've been sitting on that one for a minute and really trying to like map it out in my head, kind of how it worked, how it was going to work out. And you did a really good job. Pretty much nailed it.
Nah, dude, I tried.
Nailed that thing.
I tried.
Man.
You brought me a cool riff, some cool guitar parts, some cool lyrics. Did a pretty solid job on the vocal performance. Like, you know, like all these things, it just kind of came together. Like me and you sat back here and made this song in like a day.
Yeah.
You like the backbone of it. Like you brought the riff. Like it took me a few days to track everything.
Right.
But we had the structure, like the backbone of the song. Like we did all the drums and everything in a day. And
I think it works out better that way because I like to be more involved with the production of it and how the song is shaping out to be in the studio because I'll have an idea in my head and then I'm like, all right, so I got some chords and some lyrics. Like the past couple songs I put out and I brought it to you and then just kind of left it up to the studio musicians to figure out like what's going to go where and how they feel about it.
And that's how it goes a lot of the time. Like
it's been a good product, but it's not a deep reflection of
what you're going for.
My goal is.
Well, and a lot of that depends on the song, but yeah, that's how it goes a lot of the time. Like, and it's the same way in Nashville. Like a lot of times, the touring band or the gigging band with whatever figurehead, frontman, singer, whatever you want to call it, is not the same person that plays on all the records.
That was a problem this week. So that song released, I set it up for early release, and it said it was going to email me and let me know what day it was going to release. And it released. I didn't even know it was released yet. It released on the 3rd.
Snap.
I put it in to be released on the 2nd, and it released on the 3rd on YouTube, and everything else trickled in a day or two behind.
Okay.
So people were already listening to it. I didn't, unbeknownst to me.
Wow.
We're playing a show, and they're like, "Hey, can you do your new song, Red Dirt Rich?" I'm like, "How do you know about that?"
Bitch, what? No,
I wasn't ready.
That's crazy.
And it's happening every show this week. And I was like, I had to explain to people. I was like, man,
we haven't had time to work it up.
And they're like, how have you not had time to work it up when you made the song? Well,
it's complicated. It really is. It's not as simple as like, oh, you wrote the song, the band knows the song, you play the song. Because it's like in the studio, a lot of times, like you said, you have the studio musicians. Because playing live versus in the studio is a completely
two different things.
Totally different animal.
It is a different ball game entirely. It might as well not even be classified in like the same like job description. And I don't know why that is. It's like playing to a click, playing to the metronome. Also like having good tone, good gear. A lot of, I work with a lot of country artists that have their own band, and they show up with a Line 6 Spider amp.
It's like, what is this?
And all this stuff that like I can't work with that. I can't record this stuff and get good results out of it. So I hire guys that I trust. I know they sound good, they play well, and they deliver consistently.
Yeah.
And it may not be the most, like you said, the most like reflective of the sound that you're going for, but there is a certain level of quality that I know they can deliver upon, and they're not going to go they're not going to go below that.
Yeah, it's like the first song, "Party Down South." Like every time we play it live, it's different.
Right.
Every time.
Yeah.
The tempo, tone, something's different. Like I might even sing it different sometimes because whoever's drumming for me at the show will kick it off and
play it different.
They're playing it their own way.
Yeah.
And it's different every daggone time. And it's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's just a little, the inconsistency can be kind of annoying if the people playing with you didn't play on the record, because they have their own interpretations of how it should go.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe just play it like the record.
Yeah,
maybe.
Like,
crazy idea here.
Because I have this whole philosophy about playing cover songs. Like if you're going to play a cover song, make it your own, to a degree.
The originals.
If you want to hear the record, turn on the radio. But when it's your own record, your own song, you kind of want it to sound like your own song.
Yeah, you want it to sound like you and your band members were the ones that like made that. Even if they weren't, you want it to sound as close as possible.
Exactly.
And that's something like a lot of the Nashville cats and stuff, like the bigger radio artists, most of their albums are not recorded by their touring guys. No, it's very rare.
It's really, really rare. And you even run into that shout out to my current main gig, Corey Farley, one of my favorite people in the world, and Mikey and Bobby, the guitar player and the drummer. But Mikey and Bobby and I are not the band on his recordings. So occasionally we'll get a request at a show. We know several of his originals, and I'm a fan of his originals.
Right.
But
it's going to sound different.
We have maybe 7 to 9 of his originals that we might have worked up to do live.
Yeah.
Out of 40 or 50.
Right.
And so if somebody comes in and their favorite happens to be
this like
something that is not in that list of 7 or 9, that can be awkward sometimes, And
it's just part of it. And like the average audience member doesn't really understand how that all works. There's just a lot more that goes into making a piece of recorded music versus playing that same piece live and trying to make it sound authentic. Because otherwise it's going to end up sounding like a cover of your own song.
Right.
And that's weird.
Yeah. And it's always an awkward conversation too. That's what, like, this is a really good segment of the show here, is like, so maybe people can listen to it and kind of have a better idea of how things work, because like with Drowned Memory, like everything on the record, other than the guitar parts that I track and then you track, everything's digital.
Yeah, everything's programmed, drums,
none of that.
Synthetic bass, a bunch of synths, all these things. Like,
and to play it live,
it's not real instruments.
It's nothing like the record live every time. And it's really cool. It sounds good. It's like more southern rocking when we play it live with live drums and bass and all that stuff. But I mean, you got your backing tracks and stuff like that, but like the level I'm at in my music career, I'm not making enough money to hire all the people to run all that stuff. Right.
Hire somebody who can like run your backing tracks and keep somebody on you, like running sound on the road
and all that stuff. Yeah,
making sure none of that stuff fails, because running backing tracks to handle those not real instruments is tough. That's a whole like rabbit hole that you have to go down and learn how to do it.
Then all the musicians in the band have to be able to play to a click track and all that stuff.
So that's another thing a lot of people don't know, and I feel like we could talk about for a second. It's like like playing in the studio, everything is tracked to a metronome. You have to be perfectly on time with the computer. And if you run backing tracks, which is basically like, if there's a piano or a synth part or trap hi-hats or something that's going on that somebody on stage is not doing, if you run those tracks, you have to run a click in all the musicians' ears, a metronome, to keep every band member on time. And so that makes it even more complicated when the band members who play with you live aren't the ones who did the studio. They don't have as much studio experience.
Yeah.
But when you run a click live, it's almost like playing in the studio. You have to be perfectly on time, because if you're not, the tracks don't slow down or speed up for you. Mm-hmm. They'll get off time, and then the whole performance gets out of whack.
Everything's out of whack.
So it's really bad at that point.
That's like worst case scenario. It's tough. It's tough. So yeah, if a band doesn't sound exactly like they sound in the studio live, like, cut them a little slack. Yeah. Like it's
two different animals.
There's a lot of studio magic that goes on, and
the reason for that
playing live is just tough.
Like playing live without click tracks, without a metronome or anything, your drummer is your metronome.
Yes.
And then everybody else in the band
follows that.
So if the drummer's fast or slow or speeds up or slows down, everybody else is able to be fluid with them. But when you have a backing track, it's dynamic. I mean, it's static. There's no dynamic to it. You just got to be there, or it's just off.
And neither one is, better or worse by any means. It's like, when your drummer is your metronome, the audience doesn't really notice it. Even if it fluctuates like a few beats per minute, slower or faster, everybody ebbs and flows together, so it sounds fine. But if the click doesn't stop for anybody. If you're playing to a metronome, it's going to keep time. And if, like I said, if one person gets off, everybody gets off. You can't flow like you would normally. You have to keep time with that digital click.
Yeah.
It's just a different beast. It's a different beast. Different beast. But anyway, all that's to say, you have a new song out.
Yeah,
and
Red Dirt Rich.
And it slaps.
Stream it.
Like crazy.
If y'all listen to this thing still,
Well, we're only an hour and 20 into it.
Yeah,
we might have like 3 people left.
No, y'all go check that out. Red Dirt Rich by Brandon Jordan. That's me. It's my 5th song out, I think. 4th or 5th, something I can't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah, I got a bunch of other songs that are ready to record, and a couple of them that are coming soon. As soon as we can get Fletch to get to work.
Now that he's decided he likes me more than Nashville.
That was like 2 years ago.
We'll see how you're bitter about Boyd. I'm still holding like a 1% grudge.
Oh, back to that for the record. I just want to say I've been giving Boyd a lot of crap, but I really am proud of him. I love the dude.
Oh,
I'm proud to see that he
I love you too, buddy.
stepped out.
It's been crazy.
Took a chance on himself, and is making it happen.
It's been crazy
There's
to
nothing
watch.
more badass than that.
I'll tell us. You say whatever you want to say.
I
I've got
was
a
just-
story about Brandon.
I was just going to say it's been crazy to watch because, like you said earlier, me and you have been playing in multiple projects throughout the years, and to see you like make that move, because it's a gamble. It's a gamble to move up to Nashville and be like, oh, I'm going to do this full time, and I hope that it works. And you've made it work. You've been on tour with a few people.
I've been very blessed to run into good people.
Yeah, you've been consistent. You've been doing things that like I can't even begin to imagine what it's like. So I want to say I'm proud of you as well.
Oh, buddy.
You're doing cool shit, and I'm very proud of you.
Oh.
So,
Well, I'll deflect because I'm not good at compliments.
I love you.
I'll deflect off of me real quick. I mentioned earlier that I think maybe Brandon's 2nd or 3rd live show was my first show with you. And we played together for quite a long time, like 3 years.
Yeah.
And I knew from like an hour into that show that you would be successful.
Aw.
Because you had like, not joking, like 10 to 15 of your military buddies in the bar with you and kept them entertained and riled up the entire time. And I was like, this guy is not only a person who's a good enough dude that 10 or 15 of his buddies are going to come out and be supportive while he's new at this, but also you kept them entertained.
Yeah.
And that was impressive to me, and that's why I stuck with you for as long as I lived here and continue to get up with you when I come home because I love playing with you.
Thanks, man. I'm not good at compliments either. I don't know what to say now. That was some fun times, man. We had a lot of good memories and fun times together. And maybe one day the paths will cross again to where we're back together again on the road and stuff.
That's the most, I think the most important thing about this job is, and it's similar in any job, but I think the most important thing about this job is the people that you know.
Right.
And being good to those people.
Yes.
Because you guys talked about it a little bit in the Smith Distillery episode.
Being a good hang.
Like, being a good hang
That
is very
counts
important.
for so much of it.
Because if you have a bass player who can show up and play like Jocko, but
he's
a
asshole.
terrible person to be around,
It's like,
you're not going to hire him ever again.
No.
It doesn't matter that he's the best bass player you've ever heard. You're never going to hire him again because you don't like spending 14 hours in a van with him.
right.
Yeah.
You've got to have a baseline level of skill, but I'd say like, dude, a good 50 to 60% of it is just being chill.
Tolerable to be around, showing up on time.
It goes so far, being chill and professional.
Because at the end of the day, everybody does this to have a good time. Everybody comes out to the shows to listen to music to have a good time.
Yeah.
If you're not having a good time doing it, you're not going to want to do it.
And
if
why,
you're
why,
being the
why are
reason-
you doing it?
Yeah.
If you're not having a good time, like get off
Exactly.
stage.
If you don't love it more than anything, this would probably be the worst job in the world.
Yes, it's terrible.
Absolutely.
Because while you're
awful
not,
conditions, awful pay,
while
awful
you aren't,
hours,
No benefits.
while you aren't on stage, you're basically just cosplaying homelessness. That you're living in
I
a
think
van.
that's just you, Boyd.
You're living in a van, or sometimes a car, or a bus, or a Super 8. And it's just it's other than being on stage, it's pretty rough So you have to have people around you that you enjoy doing it with.
Right. They make it worth it. Hell yeah.
Speaking of being uncomfortable on the bus, have I told you guys my first tour bus story?
Yeah, but I'd like to hear it again.
I don't think I've heard this.
It's a good one. Shout out to Savannah. My first ever tour bus gig was with Savannah Ray, who some of you might know from The Voice. And I was going to be her rhythm guitar player for like a 4-day run. And I knew the bass player, Gian Luca, and another great guy, great bass player. And I knew him. They needed a guitar player. They asked me to do it. And I'm all excited because, like, you know, this girl's super talented. She's been on The Voice. She's got a real bus. It's going to be my first ever time on a real bus.
Oh, my God.
And we meet up. What?
I don't want to talk about my first time on a bus.
And we meet up.
Yeah, we'll talk about this one off the air.
Yeah, that might not be an on. I know the story you're talking about. Might not be an on-air story. But anyway, it's going to be my first time on a bus, and we meet up in Nashville, of course, to leave, and we're going to Detroit. And we find out the next day. We stop in Lexington to get a hotel, and we wake up from the hotel. We crank up the bus. We're already running behind because that's what the road is like. And we have no AC in the middle of July to ride from Kentucky to Detroit. It was just awful. So my first real tour bus experience, we had no AC for the whole drive. So that's how not glamorous it actually is.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible.
It was the first time with my own bunk, the first time in a real bus, no AC on a 100-degree day. It was like 105 in Kentucky, and it was like 98 by the time we got to Detroit. Yeah. So a rough. That's how glamorous it is. So all that wraps back around to, if you don't enjoy the people you're with, it's pretty terrible. So
yeah, if you've ever been stuck on a bus, a metal tube with people you don't like, and it's 98 degrees outside with no AC, you're gonna be pissed off.
It's a miserable day.
You're gonna hate you and everybody else on that bus.
The fun part of it is all of us remained friends. We all bonded through that suffering. Yeah. So that's why you hire good people.
Trauma bonding, baby.
Trauma bonding.
That kind of situation go one or two ways. Like, you're either going to get stronger together because you suffered through the trenches together, or you're going to just hate each other.
Well, and again, that depends on the person. That depends on the people that you have. Like, everybody's outlook reflects how, like, they react to certain situations. Somebody who's a good hang will probably understand that you're about to rough it. You know, you're going to be in the trenches, and you got to just make the best of it. If you don't have that mentality, you're going to be a bad hang, and you're never going to get hired.
Yeah. If all I did was complain about how hot it was over the course of that day, they would have never spoken to me again. Yeah. You know, because I'm just being miserable. Right. Everybody knows we're already miserable. There's no AC on the bus.
Yeah. We get it.
You don't have to say that you're miserable.
We get it. Dang. Well, I guess it's about that time we wrap things up. It has been an absolute blast talking to both of you. I love you and you.
I love you too, man.
And I love you three, because that's more than two.
How many times am I gonna kiss you through this mic? I've kissed you like 5 times.
Kiss me through the phone.
I don't know what else to say. I just want to give you a big old, you know. What else can I do?
Have that effect on people.
You're so damn cute. You know? Anyways, is there anything else that either of you want to touch on? Anything that y'all need to get off your chest? Any like life lessons? Whatever. Anything you want to plug that y'all are a part of before we sign off?
I'm going to be all over the Midwest this summer with the mighty Corey Farley Band. If we got anybody out there in Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, et cetera, et cetera.
What are your socials?
My socials. I'm Big Body Boyd on all social media.
Big Body Boyd. What about Corey Farley? Is it like...
Corey Farley Band on all socials. Follow Corey and stream his music and come see us either in Nashville or out on the road. We got some cool stuff going on.
Let's go. What about you, Brandon?
So this month on the 26th, I get to open up for the Lax.
And this is
It's going to be in Montgomery at Range 231.
What date? Just
one of my favorite
July
clubs
26th,
in
yeah.
Montgomery, by the way, the Range.
Yeah.
Huh?
One of my favorite clubs in Montgomery is the Range.
The old Range.
Many good
Old
times
Range.
there.
They changed it up, man. They got a catwalk and everything on stage now. That was pretty dope.
All right, so continue. You're opening up for the Lax.
Yep, for the Lax on July 26th, and then I get to share the stage with Saving Abel and 12 Stone and Prattville on August 10th.
Dude, go team.
Dude,
I didn't know about the Saving Abel show.
Dude, I used to listen to 12 Stones back in high school, bro.
So it's Scott Bartlett.
That's
and,
crazy.
The lead singer from 12 Stone, what's his name?
I don't know. They were like a Christian metal band. I used to listen to them back in my like Skillet.
Yeah, they're still rocking it, man.
Oh, dude, Skillet.
Flyleaf days, you know. Yeah.
I'm pretty pumped about that.
That's sick.
2 biggest things I've done in a while. This
Heck
year's
yeah.
been full of high notes. So, yeah, I got those things going on. Red Dirt Ridge just released. We got Let the Gravel Fly. We're going to release it as soon as we get done with it soon.
It's in the chamber.
It's in the chamber. Got some more stuff in the chamber coming down the pipeline. Got the new band up and running.
Yeet.
I didn't tank yet. Still surviving.
Just don't move to Nashville.
Didn't tank yet. So, yeah, things are going good with that. Got a lot more dates coming up through the future. Probably the 27th of July. Might be doing my own type of festival type deal that me and you talked about.
Yeah, me and you've kind of
down in Troy, Alabama.
Nice.
Still might
talked
be doing
up some
that.
things, getting like a bunch of local bands together and doing like a what would you call it? ATV side by side, trail riding type thing,
Big
but
deal,
with
dude.
3 or 4 local bands.
Yeah, the guy that's hosting it is he owns Sarge the Mega Truck, monster truck type deal. Does a bunch of big mud bogs and stuff like that. He's big in the mud bog community world, so there's gonna be all kind of monster trucks and side by sides and all that good stuff going on out there, and probably a truck show or something. We're really behind the ball on planning this out, so
It'll be next summer. we had talked about it being this summer, and then, yeah, it's like
we still may put on the show.
Probably
it may not
not.
be all the things involved that I wanted to be this year. It may just be come hang out, see a good show, eat some good food, and be around some good folks.
right.
But next year might be everything I wanted it to be.
Well, all in due time, boys. All in due time. You know, we've all been at it. You know, grinding this thing out for years and years. You know, it's
Long time.
eventually it's got to pay off. If it doesn't,
It's nuts to think about.
yeah. I mean,
You and me have been playing together since like we were 9. I was 19.
Yeah. And
And that would have made you like what, 17 or 18?
I guess so.
Yeah.
But I feel like you've been in it longer than I have.
Me and David were doing the stuff with Jordan before Orbiter.
Right.
But not for very long before.
Yeah. I
Orbiter,
don't
maybe
know.
like a year.
don't know. I inherently look at you as my like senior in the music scene for some reason.
It's because
But-
I'm a little bit taller.
I'll kill you right now.
Those that know the two of us will get that joke.
Yeah.
Ventriloquist puppet looking ass. Nah, dude. I love both of you, and I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. You know, we're just out here doing the thing. We're grinding. We're trying to make it, and we hope you guys got some kind of insight, some kind of information, you know, a glimpse into what us musicians kind of go through, what we deal with, what we know, what we've learned over the years. All these things just adds up to being the experience.
It's a wild ride.
It's definitely something. It is a career path.
The three of us together have a bunch of stories that we decided not to tell on air.
Yeah, they are not
Hey,
PG.
a lot. We didn't even scratch the surface.
I don't
even scratch the surface.
I don't even think the parental advisory, you know, a little sticker down in the corner would do it justice.
Fletch
I think
has been side-eyeing my crazy ass the entire show. It's like, what is he about to say? What is he about to say?
Every time
What's he
something
gonna
gets
say?
referenced, I look at him. I'm like, hey, what about that time?
Shut the fuck up. Don't say it.
Nah, but yeah, ask us about that in person, off the record.
Yeah. Or just come out to a show. You'll see it.
Yeah, you'll see it firsthand. It's,
Firsthand.
It's wacky.
It's wacky.
Here's some little pun in there.
That's a tattoo, dude. It's wacky.
It's wacky. Well, anyways, we appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Appreciate y'all listening to Studio Spotlight. I will see y'all soon, and I will see you people listening soon. And yeah, thank you so very much. Tune in next time. Peace out.